Oh no, Robo.
Hey gamers, this is Patrick from OhNoRobo Reviews and GotGame.com. Today I'll be reviewing Virtua Fighter 5 Final Showdown for Xbox Live Arcade and PlayStation Network. The Virtua Fighter series has come a long way since its debut in arcades way back in 1993, and this latest incarnation, mostly, proves that it still has some fight left in it. The original version of Virtua Fighter 5 was released on current-gen consoles in 2007 to critical acclaim, and was lauded by some as being one of the deepest fighting games around. And while this new version might seem like a waste of time to those who have already invested in the original game, there are plenty of new features and options that might warrant a second look. Veterans of Virtua Fighter 5 who have mastered the combat system might want to check this one out solely for the reworked fighting mechanics, such as timing changes and new animations. The physics also feel much less floaty than they did in the original game. All of your attacks seem to impact more heavily, and this provides the player with a better sense of accuracy this time around. To new and casual fighting game players, it'll still feel like a button masher, but to veterans and pro players, the combat should feel like a breath of fresh air. The game still uses the standard punch, kick, block, throw, and drunk old man control scheme. Now, hopping around on one leg while you're drunk is really not easy to... Is he even moving? Is he dead? Somebody should probably check because he did have a lot to drink, but... Anyway... Final Showdown does feature an enormous list of combos for you to use. Stringing together small combos isn't difficult, but to pull off more elaborate combos, players might want to spend some time with the dojo training feature to own their skills. Virtua Fighter is known for its in-depth fighting system, and there are tons of top-tier combos that require perfect execution of button presses and timing to pull off. The single-player campaign is fairly straightforward, and offers no story whatsoever. But this being a fighting game, do you really need one? During my time with the single-player campaign, I noticed how easy it was to, well, just mash buttons all the way to victory. It's not necessarily a bad thing and helps broaden the appeal of the game to casual and pro players alike. On the lower difficulties, you can get away with this easily, but on the harder settings, not so much. Casual players take note. If you think you're an awesome fighter and all you do is play the game on the easy setting, you're in for a rude awakening. You could hand the controller to an old man, tell him that it's the remote for the TV and that a Matlock rerun is about to come on. Then you can watch as he button mashes all the way through the single-player campaign. Or until he gives up to go try his luck with the microwave. I don't know. Anyway, my point is, the game is super easy on the lower difficulty, but taking the time to learn the fighting mechanics will give you a little more ground to stand on by the time you step into the online arena. The graphics have been tweaked in this edition of the game, but not as dramatically as some may have hoped. Most of the upgrades apply to character models, stages, and lighting. There seems to be a bit more detail with reflections and particle effects, but not enough to make a huge difference. When compared to other fighting games like Soul Calibur, a game series that always showcases huge leaps in the graphics department, Final Showdown just can't compete. The audio is good enough, but it can seem a little fuzzy and low quality. Since this is a downloadable game, I'm sure some liberties had to be taken with the audio compression, but seeing as how the game always runs at a perfect 60 frames per second, you'll learn to sacrifice. The online battles are fun, even if it can take some time to find a match. Most players that I faced off against in ranked matches were no pushovers and gave me a much bigger challenge than in the campaign, which for me is much more enjoyable. If that sounds intimidating to you, there are always player matches that aren't ranked for more casual players. The online mode is probably the only reason most players would even consider purchasing this game. The single-player campaign is over in a heartbeat and doesn't really offer anything compelling. So, if you're not interested in online brawling, well, this game probably isn't for you. 2 new fighters have been added to the roster in Final Showdown. A new fighter named Jin Kujo, and a returning character from Virtua Fighter 3, Taka Arashi. Other than that, it's the same roster you've gotten used to. There are also some character customization options, but they're strictly cosmetic and as far as I can tell have no effect on your fighter's skills. Aside from making Sarah look like a streetwalker, I didn't really have much interest in this feature. If that's your thing, however, there are plenty of options and downloadable clothing items to keep you occupied. Personally, I found the game to be pretty fun, but when compared to some of the other latest offerings in the fighting game genre like Soul Calibur, Mortal Kombat, and Tekken, it doesn't really stack up for me. I'm not saying the game isn't fun, so don't get too offended if you're a Virtua Fighter fan. All I'm saying is that I didn't enjoy it as much as I enjoyed those games, and that's a personal preference. If you prefer this series, then have at it and have fun. Playing with a friend in the offline versus mode is still super fun, and that's where I get the most enjoyment out of games like this. The online mode is where the real challenge lies though. If you're interested in this game for the online mode only, then you'll get what you pay for. If not, then I would suggest investing in a full retail release of one of the fighting games I mentioned earlier. Still, there is a lot of content to be found here depending on what you're looking for. Virtua Fighter 5 Final Showdown is available now on Xbox Live Marketplace and the PlayStation Store for about $15. Considering all the content you're getting, it's hard to think of many reasons not to pick this one up if you're into fighting games, and especially if you're a fan of the Virtua Fighter series. This has been Patrick from OhNoRobo Reviews and GotGame.com. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to leave a comment and be sure to subscribe to receive more content in the near future. See you next time and happy gaming!